you can take him out with pretty much any attacking tower. And this is a nuclear monster. He has 1.5 million health and is a fair bit trickier, because in TDS there are currently 7 different game modes, ranging from very easy to hard to this guy, and I set out to try to beat them all. So first of all, we gotta clear the easiest game mode first, which is Molten. Now TDS has 3 kind of standard game modes, with this one being fire themed, but I mean compared to the others, it's essentially an automatic win if you're a level 200 player with every tower unlocked. And Molten was the only game mode I played with no teammates, using this loadout with some pretty rare towers. Gold Scouts for early defense, Farm for money, Accelerator for DPS, and DJ and Commander for their buffs led me to wave 40, where I faced the first of the bosses, the Molten boss. He's an incendiary demon, but not that powerful, having only 70,000 health and some stunning and summoning abilities. I mean, I took him down fairly quickly. Yet things are going to get about 1,000 times harder from here, with this next mode being normal. Now this mode is technically meant to be easier than Molten, but the developers messed up the balancing just a little bit. TDS game modes typically have 40 waves, yet normal mode has just 30, which means you do fight less zombies, but you also face the stronger variants much earlier, like these shadow zombies appearing on wave 9 rather than 13, or this slow boss appearing on wave 16 rather than 22. Still, the specialty zombies for normal are, as you might guess, pretty mild. I mean, you have the strongs, which they're not really that strong. And of course, the Gravedigger as a final boss. I recruited a team for this, as I would for every other mode, and while I had some problems later on, in this match, everyone had high tier towers and was very chill, easily letting us take down the boss, as the Gravedigger only has a few abilities and just 40,000 health. Now, however, the difficulty takes an immediate step up with Fallen. These zombies are about as advanced as the standard versions get, yet still not as powerful or unique as the standalone game modes. And with no real special abilities or anything, just kinda more health. With 4 players, all very highly leveled, this was a straightforward game. Cowboys and quick bosses were our early defense, and by the end game, we had 8 mortars, 6 engineers, however many accelerators this is, and a bunch of other sorted towers. And we shredded the Fallen King, possibly the most iconic boss, with his black and purple colorings and energy themed attacks. But 150,000 health is still not really that much. At this point, you might be like, wow, already 3 game modes down. This is just going swimmingly right now. Oh man.
Sometimes it can feel like there's no way out of treatment-resistant depression. You take one.
Oh man. Next, we move on to the standalone game modes, of which there are 4, and the easiest of which is Pizza Party. In this FNAF themed game mode, you defend a pizzeria from a variety of puppet themed zombies. Things started out rather poorly in this run, as we were all generally too invested in the money game, and were underprepared for the scout boss. Yeah, in this mode, the towers you normally defend with have been turned into toy enemy versions of themselves. Horrifying, honestly. And this boss delivered us some fat damage, nearly causing us to lose to these shadows here. It was very close. And there were more tense waves as the zombies ran deep along the path, but I eventually got all my farms to level 3 and started placing and upgrading mortars. Now I make special mention of this tower because unlike the many others I cycled through, this guy was vital in beating all 3 of the main special modes. His splash damage is a great way to counter all the hordes of zombies, and in this mode specifically, he was required to kill the Balloon Boy zombies, which fly above ground-based towers. The next puppet tower after Scout was Shotgunner, kinda like the slow boss from before. He's a bit faster though, and has a big HP bar. Oh whoa, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Got some accelerators down, which carried early, and was assisted by Pro and Benji. As our whole team had raw accelerator, I placed sledgers on corners and they froze and slowed down the zombie hordes. We melted down the commander puppet. He has this little Call of Arms ability, which is cute, and the minigunner puppets, reaching the final wave. The boss of this mode is Wox the Fox, with a terrifying 250,000 health. I mean, that is a lot more than the Fallen King, but compared to the other final bosses, it's much less. He has special abilities like a jump scare and a stun, but his health is a bit too low to be threatening. As he took more and more damage, he shed his furry coverings and melted down into an endoskeleton as he died. Another dub. Next is Badlands 2, because it's technically a remake. This mode takes place in a parched desert map with 3 paths. I mean, there's not really many special zombies here, but all the pre-existing zombies wear cowboy hats, so that's pretty Cool. Trying to join a game here, I witnessed something that would come back to haunt me during the polluted game. Matchmaking. As upon joining this first game, all of my team left, and the second time around, half of my team left. It took a few more attempts to finally get in the game with a full team, all of us having synergizing loadouts. For early defense, SG1 placed an ace pilot and Bio placed a cowboy, where Bio then said, "Hey, this placement sucks, man." Which, like, it's not great, but it's really not that bad. And he convinced SG1 to sell his tower, and he didn't have enough money to replace it instantly, where we suddenly started taking a lot more damage. This is my live reaction. We skipped through a wave and he got back down, but that was definitely scary. Me and Ari, the last member of our team, both took the same approach, farming a bit early and getting down a mortar to help defend. We made it through the mid game and Ari started placing accelerators as I got engineer. And then we had an absolute classic TDS moment. Two DJs placed right next to each other. If you don't know, the effects do not stack, and this isn't even the only time it happened. It sounds like I'm kinda roasting my team here, but nah, we did alright. Our lowest point was here, surviving a breaker horde with 2 health. This actually happens like every time I play this mode, I don't know why. But we did manage to rebound and build our defense back up. I got sledgers, once again for the slowing effect, and spammed accelerators and engineers. Even with 3 times the normal amount of zombies, we were holding our own. Mortar is so real for this. With everyone maxing out their towers, we reached wave 40. And the boss here is the Gunslinger, a giant zombie cowboy who can use a mounted minigun against you, protected by a platoon of his cavalry who shoot at and stun towers. Probably the most stylish zombies, honestly. The boss itself has 600,000 health, so over twice that of walks. And the path here is substantially shorter. I was low-key stressing, and we ended up cutting it very close. I started moving out of range towers, panicking hard, as he still had like half his cavalry and 50,000 health. But just barely, like actually barely, we took him out at the entrance to our base, completing the 3rd hardest game mode. That was difficult, but it's really nothing compared to Polluted Wasteland, the final of the 3 main special game modes, and by far the most challenging. Let me showcase what makes this mode so much harder than the others. Now for one thing, the map is easier, which seems counterintuitive at first. It's got all these loops that mean your towers can attack for longer, but really, this is just an excuse for the developers to spam the most broken, overpowered zombies in the game. For example, take this match. Lost_Dad and Hola played cowboys for early defense, while me and Musk farmed. The special zombies here are these little mutated guys, a theme which persists throughout the mode. They have comparatively more health than the other early game equivalents and gain annoying toxic abilities. Thanks to my farming, I got an accelerator in time for the hidden. This accelerator is actually incredibly important, because fast forward through some more early game zombies to wave 22 and the amalgamation spawns, compared to the normally 1600 health slow boss or the 2000 health shotgunner, and it breaks down into a ton of smaller pieces as it takes damage. If you don't have a highly upgraded accelerator here, you're going to lose. Even as it was a close thing, as I had to sell a farm to max one out, defeating the zombie just in time. Now this mode has some of the most punishing enemies, like the rushers, incredibly fast with shields to buffer their health. Mortar, again, was invaluable here, though we needed multiple accelerators to finish them. Or the Abomination, which kinda looks like the tank, the normal 6,000 health zombie, not too tricky, except when it dies, it comes back to life and goes Super Saiyan. Although by the time it spawned, we had enough towers to handle it. From there, more and more stuff spawns. You can't forget the slimes, the wardens, the necromancers, the toxics, the circuits. Take all of those and spam like 50 of them. Yep. I mean, even through this narration, you can probably notice, Polluted Wastelands usually devolves into a messy, chaotic scramble, culminating in the boss of the mode, the nuclear monster, who is just miserable. This guy has the most health of any zombie in the game, 1.5 million. That's equal to more than 2 gunslingers, 6 walks of foxes, or 10 fallen kings. It's absurd. He has a litany of abilities to ruin your life. Stun all your towers? Yep. Spawn 30 zombies? Yeah. Delete your tower's range? You can do it all. Even with maxed out accelerators, engineers, rangers, every single support, we struggled very heavily, as used ability after, imagine me saying that like 10 times. And we ended up losing. Yeah. On the 3rd loop of the path, he used his summon ability, and the spawned slime zombie killed us. I was definitely tilted, as the problem was out of any of our controls. This mode is difficult to the point where you need your team to have the 3 main supports and at least like 3 or 4 people with accelerator and an additional DPS tower like engineer. just to output enough damage to maybe kill the boss. In that game, we just did not have enough damage. You could like go on the Discord and look for people to coordinate with, but I wanted the true casual experience, using the automatic matchmaking system. So I played on, and after a few resets, got into another range. If I were to describe this match in 3 words, a complete disaster class. Our team composition was pretty good, the only problem being we had 4 DJs in place of Commander. Still, I thought maybe we had a very slim chance at least. Legend of Lightning and I farmed for accelerators early, while our other teammates used Gold Scouts and Ace Pilots for early defense. We got accelerators upgraded time for wave 22, and we took down the amalgamation. From here though, things went downhill quickly. For one, our 4th teammate was deliberately trolling, just spamming Ace Pilots and being annoying. You can see this great DJ placement here, yes. And eventually Toxic Jax was like, wait a minute, no commander? He started arguing with that 4th teammate who lied about having and refusing to place commander. He did not have it equipped, which caused the Legend of Lightning to leave. And from there, it was a short transition to a loss. From here on out, I just didn't play out any games that didn't have perfect team composition, which meant I had to go through 12 failed starts, taking roughly half an hour. Finally though, I got into this lobby. We were missing medic, but every player had both engineer and accelerator equipped, and I knew I wouldn't get a much better chance. This run was similar to the previous wave 40 attempt, but with obviously more firepower. Gold Scouts held down the early game, I maxed the DJ, and Pooh got a level 5 accelerator just in time for the amalgamation. Shout out Pooh, I recommend following in his footsteps here. Only takes a second, subscribe if you aren't. We all placed down accelerators. Honestly, it doesn't really get much stronger than this. Mortar again proved its usefulness and helped decimate the mid-wave 30s, but the late game wasn't the problem. The nuclear monster was, as once again, I reached wave 40. This time with my team having about 30 accelerators and 20 engineers. But with no medic, we couldn't counter the boss's stuns. Still, the DPS made up for it, down to 700,000 by the first loop, down to 150,000 by the second. By the third loop though, he summoned multiple times, and I moved my towers as I was still worried we might lose here, just because of how short the path is to the end. When I originally played this mode, I did actually lose just like that, so I was scared. Plus, our damage was really slowing down, but with his final chance to end us, he used a stunning rather than a spawning ability. We focused down the nuclear monster itself, and I finally beat Polluted Wastelands. That was quite a trial, but it does mean there's just one game mode left. Hardcore mode. Undoubtedly just the strangest game mode. Hardcore has had a storied history, which is to say it's made a lot of people mad. For good reason, I'd argue. Now this mode is hard capped to 3 players rather than 4, and I ended up teaming up with Venado and Turbo, not just random players, as we all agreed to use a strategy guide, which essentially gave us the plan to win the game, because, as you might guess, hardcore is hard. But unlike Polluted Wastelands, which at least feels possible if you have every tower and are high level, hardcore just feels depressingly hard. Like, the developers don't care about it, the general player base doesn't like it, even the best players who this is designed for don't like it. And joining the match, it's easy to see why. I had the role of the Ace Pilot player, which meant I had to use this loadout as it's outcalculated, and I had to quickly provide early game defense before farming for a while. This wasn't exactly optimal gameplay, I loaded in late and wasn't able to place farm early, but it still let us survive long enough for Turbo and Venado to place Gold Soldier and Pyromancer respectively. From here, things got shaky. In this mode, the zombies get way more health, you make no money, and everything costs way more to place. I hate this mode. Venado's first accelerator just let us take down the slow boss by wave 22, and we gradually moved our firepower from the very back of the map up to the front. The strategy from here on out was pretty much to just spam accelerators and pursuits for damage, as we tackled the mode's incoming specialty zombies, who display a major part of the mode's problem. Like, look at this guy, the Fallen Titan. At first glance, he looks swag, I guess. I wrote that in the script. But you might realize his model looks a bit off, especially compared to the quality of the other modes and their unique zombies, because this guy has been unchanged since his addition in 2020, as have the rest of these zombies. Hardcore mode has been kind of abandoned by the developers, only receiving very infrequent balancing updates. Like, the zombie has this 40 damage shield protection thing, which is quite literally a leftover asset from 2020, and it doesn't even work anymore, because they use a new resistance system. In general, it's just a bunch of weird stuff in hardcore, all contributing to balance issues. However, in this game, things were going quite well. We collectively placed down 30 pursuits, and we were destroying the zombies, I think. These Speedy King zombies threw an unexpected fear of God into me as they randomly broke through our front line. But they were the exception, as everything else went down easily, including the other bosses. Hardcore has not 1, 2, 3, or even 4, but 5 final bosses, reusing the zombies from the 3 standard modes. Gravedigger spawns on wave 36 and is quite weak. The Molten Boss follows on wave 44, as this mode actually goes all the way to 50, and the health bar draining was very satisfying to look at. But before the Fallen King, there's the Fallen Swordmaster, a new boss exclusive to Hardcore. He dual-wields swords and wears a Roblox screen, but aside from looking drip, he's not that much of a threat, as all he really did was stun our towers. We killed him on wave 47, leading into the Fallen King spawning on the following wave. The speedy boss nearly got us again, but the boss itself was a little threat, as the Fallen King still only had its base 150,000 health. Finally, we reached wave 50, and the boss spawned as the Void Reaver, with technically less health than the nuclear monster, 1.2 million. Venado had the commander and had to chain the Call of Arms ability, while I was the medic player and had to heal us when the Reaver stunned our towers, which he can do in a variety of unique ways. With these galactic distortions, a stomp, a sword slam, he used his javelin attack to lower our base health before activating his low HP powered up form, where he just kinda walks faster. With the sheer power of 24 accelerators and 30 pursuits, we did take out the Void Reaver, meaning I'd officially beaten every game mode in TDS, and earned like 5,000 coins and 300 gems total. Overall, this took 2 days of playing and a ton of editing, so subscribe if you want. Comment which game mode is the best. I decided to attempt solo hardcore mode, probably the most infamous challenge in tower defense simulator history. It's also been widely considered to be the hardest. That's actually possible. Obviously, like beating Batman and the Skeleton is harder. For a variety of reasons, solo hardcore is a little bit challenging, you know. Oh my god. Wait, I survived somehow. Please. But I want to beat it. And this is how it's. Initially, my game plan was to try to replicate this run by Witherstar on the Four Seasons one. This was a strategy fellow YouTuber Corsair used in his winning run, so I started off by following this strategy guide based on Witherstar's run. However, this ended up being far more frustrating than I'd hoped. First of all, some notes about the tower choices. Farm is there to make you money, Commander is there for passive fire rate buff, Gold Minigun is there for DPS. It's worse than Accelerator or Engineer, but it has no placement cap, so that's what it's used for. Ranger is not considered super OP normally, but for solo hardcore you're forced to bring the tower with lead and flying detection, otherwise you can't kill this one specific group of zombies. Of course, this is the tower my content creator skin is on too, so that was a big morale booster throughout. But even more importantly, the 5th loadout slot is occupied by Jester. This silly looking event tower is actually the key to success and the biggest factor in the game, but I'll talk more about Jester later, as at this point, I begin my attempts. The strategy here entailed getting some farms down early, and getting Jester for early defense before you leak too much. Even early on, there's a very annoying way for this strategy. Well, because hardcore mode has an entirely unique structure. Across 50 waves, it features 23 exclusive zombies. Some are just beefier versions of regular enemies, some have special abilities, like lethal winds and wave squads. We fly above ground-based towers and are immune to their attacks. So obviously, the solution here is to skip wave 11 at the precise right time, so that with 2 Jesters with splash damage from their firebombs can indirectly spread to the overhead balloons and bring them down. Yeah, this is super janky, but it should let you take out the majority of the balloons, where you can then survive and tank the last one. I won't lie, I lost a lot of attempts on this play while still learning the strategy. It's pretty annoying, which isn't a good sign when things are going to be getting like 1,000 times harder from here. Luckily though, by the time the next batch of balloons emerge in wave 15, you'll have enough money to get a Ranger for $7,500. Yeah, this tower normally costs 5,000 to place, but all the prices in hardcore mode are multiplied by 1.5, which adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars more in the late game. Still, with that Ranger, things calm down for a while. You just get some more upgrades, farm a bit, and get the first golden minigunner down to wave 19 to with Mega Circle. Things are pretty straightforward from there. You just keep stacking the DPS with gold minis, and as long as you get the commander and use his Call to Arms buff at the right time, you should be fine. At least until wave 36. This is where the Gravedigger mini-boss spawns. Hardcore mode does something interesting with mini-bosses. It directly takes the final boss of each regular game mode and sticks them in here, one-to-one. And they aren't really a problem. They actually help you more than hurt you, since you get a massive influx of cash bombs. Like normally the game ends after this, but here you gotta keep going. So yeah, Gravedigger spawns from 36, the Molten Boss spawns from 44, an entirely unique boss, the Fallen Third Master spawns from 47, and the Fallen King spawns from 48. By this point, I'd placed and fully upgraded all of my Raiders, gotten fully upgraded Jesters into position, and had a verifiable army of golden minigunners, all being buffed by the Cryptic Commander. So the final boss of Fallen mode was no problem at all. 49 is also quite an easy wave, and that leads into the final wave. You might be like, wow, you're making great progress here. 3 script pages into the 14 and you're at the end already. Wave 50 is the actual final boss. The final boss, the Void Reaver, has 1.2 million health. He spawns alongside a massive procession of zombies. I mean, just look at the wiki. 10 times Fallen Heroes, 10 times Soul Boss, 10 times Slow King, 12 times Speedy King, 4 times Soul Stealer.
12 times Omni, 2 times Omni, 4 times Fallen Guardian, 4 times Omni, 12 times Priest, 8 times Omni, 6 times Omni.
This is my first attempt to reach wave 50, and I hadn't really prepared for what to do on this wave. Like, I had to live look up a strat document in the middle of the game because I hadn't screenshot it far enough. I was completely overwhelmed. As micro I should have been doing that wasn't, this was just a complete disaster. These 3 clips here are about some of that. Okay, here's a Vindicate. This is where things get destroyed. I clearly have a lot to learn about the fun. So naturally, for my second attempt, it was just as bad. The thing about the final wave is, there are a few zombies in that horde that are particularly brutal, like the Vindicators. These guys have 40,000 health, plus shielding, and an ability where they throw their hammer out like boomerang to stone towers. Parallels with the Unknown, who spam their stupid stomp ability constantly, and the towers will be spending their retirement. But I hate these Unknowns so much. To counter all this stunning, you need to sell and replace both Jesters and Commanders at the right time, which I didn't do here. I did almost get 6 flesh, but I still won. By the way, 4 seasons base entrance is like further ahead on the path than it really should be. Like literally, what? After this, I ran it back again, reaching wave 50 for the 3rd time, and this time I was a bit more focused. I knew I need to focus more on my micro, particularly with the Jester. As I mentioned earlier, this guy has Fire Bombs, but those are just at level 0. He actually unlocks more bomb variants as you upgrade him, which can be equipped via this little UI tool here. Fire and Poison are pretty much just DPS, while the other two, Ice will slow enemies down by 40% for 2 seconds, and the Confusion Bomb will cause enemies to walk backwards along the path for 2.5 seconds. These 2 powers combined can stall out zombies for huge chunks of time, and this does work on bosses, although that might be it. This means the Jester can seriously snail the Void Reaver and give you a fighting chance at eliminating its massive health bar. When this power was introduced, solo hardcore went from nearly impossible to pretty much free for the top players. People like Witherstar and Tom551 started getting dubs on the worst possible maps. It's not so easy as just placing a Jester down and letting it cook. You have to micro it, of course, and the unique bomb equip menu the Jester has makes micro